Phil is driving a Ford Mustang. Sixth qualifier is Rick Reynolds of Grand Rapids, Michigan, in a Chevy Camaro. 7 is Bob Fryer of Bridgeville, Pennsylvania. Fryer is driving car number 30. Interesting story here. This is the University of Pittsburgh Racing Team Javelin. It's a college engineering project. 8th starter is Tony DiLorenzo of Springfield, Virginia, in a Camaro. 9th is Bruce Jernigan of Miami Springs, Florida, in a Camaro. And David Raleigh of Torrance, California, will start in 10th position in his Mustang, car number 79. An interesting story at the back of the grid. Car number 83, Troy Waldron, qualified for the national championship race here at Road Atlanta. He's from Houston, Texas. He's at the back of the field, but the interesting thing here is Waldron has overcome amazing handicaps to become a class racing driver. He is a paraplegic and has limited use of his arms and no use of his legs, but he is qualified for this championship race and will be starting in the field.
Well, there's the story of tenacity, overcoming tremendous odds and tremendous difficulties to drive a racing car competitively out there in a national championship field. To get to these races, these guys have got to do well in at least 6 regional races. So to get in this field is no easy stroke. And there we see him.
Field coming out from under the Dotson Bridge and down to turn number 12 for the start of GT-1, and it is no start. As way out ahead of the field is Les Lindley, the pole sitter in car number 76. Remember, it is up to the pole sitter to set the pace, but David Isden also incumbent on the outside pole sitter to stay with him.
It is really, yes. And in fact, we had a bit of a hoo-ha and a fiasco in the last race to form the Continental, and we see that the starter has in fact been changed. The man who waved the flag has been replaced by another one, and our second starter didn't like the start of that race either. It is up to the pole man to lead the field down at a reasonable speed. The field is supposed to stay in position behind pole man.
No, Jimmy was way out ahead of the field. You want to set it up again?
There we see them regrouping as they go through the S's around turn 5 out the back of the straight, at the back of the circuit. The sun now shining very brightly here at Road Atlanta. Perfect temperature for racing, a little bit chilly for watching, but pretty nice for racing.
In the early 1970s, the Detroit manufacturers pumped a lot of money into the professional version of this class. It was win on Sunday and sell on Monday for these Chevy Camaros, Ford Mustangs, Plymouth Cudas, and Dodge Challengers. And in 1970, every single one of the pony car manufacturers had a factory team in SCCA TransAm Racing.
And a lot of the cars here today are, in fact, the same cars that raced back there in the early 70s. They've been honed and rebuilt and looked after and brought back up to scratch. And some of these cars are quite old, but still very quick.
Les Lindley is on the pole. He's driving a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro, car number 76. Sid Rust in a Plymouth Barracuda is the outside pole sitter. Jerry Dunbar and Scott Shadel in row number 2. As they come into view in that 5,000-foot back straightaway. And these cars with these huge V8 engines should be able to achieve quite a speed on that backstretch.
Yeah, even in sedan form like this, they'll be pulling probably 160, maybe 165 miles an hour into the bottom of that dip. And of course, a lot heavier than the cars we've been watching, so they're going to have to brake a lot earlier to go under this bridge. And in fact, the pole position set by Les Lindley is just about 100 miles an hour. So that gives you some idea of these big sedans around this quite difficult track.
Down the hill looking for green again. A 1969 Camaro against a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda. As they go to turn number 1, no, again.
Well, that time, the rest of the front row was absolutely perfect, side by side, so they'll be wondering what was wrong. But the rest of the field behind them was pretty ragged, and people were all out of position. So the starter decided not to do it again.
And the GT1 field gets a lesson in remedial racing.
Huh? Remedial what? There's the starter talking to some of his flagmen, probably telling him to give the yellow flag to the field as they come around on another pace lap.
Well, if you could have been at any one of a number of professional racing courses 10 years ago, if these cars were on the front row, you would have perhaps seen Mark Donahue in the Roger Penske Chevy Camaro, Dan Gurney in that Plymouth Barracuda on the outside pole. But these are not professionals here at Road Atlanta. They're some of the 600 amateur drivers, because here the racing is its own reward. And they are competing in this GT1 category for one of 22 national championships at stake this weekend.
And a beautiful weekend for racing it is too. Sun shining, a bit brisk, but good racing weather. There There we see the green and white tricolour of Turn 5, the state of Turn 5. Okay, the front two will be wondering what the heck went wrong that time, because they knew they were lined up. They'll obviously guess that somebody was doing something wrong behind them. It is really incumbent upon the rest of the field to follow front row and stay in station. Of course, there's always a temptation to try and pull a fast one. It's not the sort of thing that I personally would do, of course. I abhor any attempt at making up ground before the flag drops. Obviously, if it can be done without being seen, that's different altogether.
Well, the field is now tightly bundled, as are many of the spectators here at Road Atlanta on this brisk fall day. Up front, the Chevrolet Camaro, belonging to Les Lindley, the pole sitter. And on the right side of that front row is Sid Rust of Indianapolis, Indiana, driving a Plymouth Barracuda. Camaros, Mustangs, Javelins, Firebirds, Barracudas and Dodge Challengers back through the field. The big bore sedans, the pony cars, coming down, and this time they're tightly bunched and looking for the green flag. Downhill to turn number 12, Lindley inside of Rust. The battle to turn number 1, and green flag is on. Rust on the outside. Lindley to the inside as they head for turn number 1. It's the Oklahoma land rush, so to speak, in and out of turn 1 and up the hill.
And there you've got it. 2,000 or 3,000 horsepower coming down that straight at our camera down there on turn 1, and what a great shot it is too.
This will be Lindley in the lead, Rust riding in the second spot, and in third position Jerry Dunbar in car number 32. Scott Shadel in 36 rides fourth, and that's exactly the way they qualify. Heading down toward turn 6, and the report we get from the corner workers at turn 7. That's the turn leading on to the long straightaway, as there is oil at turn number 7.
Ho ho, good sight.
That yellow and orange stripe flag will be displayed, indicating oil at that corner on the course. Poses no problem for the front three as they enter the back straightaway. Lindley, Rust, and Dunbar. A Chevrolet sandwich with a Plymouth in the middle. Another Camaro in fourth and in fifth. Scott Shadel and Phil Bartlett. Bartlett is back there in a Mustang, car number 42.
Well, these front four seem to be making a bit of a break for it now. Closely packed up together, but a long gap between fourth and fifth as they swoop down that dip under the Datsun Bridge, using up lots of road, plenty of slipping and sliding on these famed cars of yore, the TransAm of yore. Just look at them. Very impressive cars, kicking up the dust there on the outside, bouncing up and down the suspension as they brake hard for turn 1, turning in. Cars rolling on the suspension. That car in third place, leaving a lot of rubber there, which looks a bit unusual.
32, Jerry Dunbar.
Could be that he's got a deflating tire. I wouldn't have thought it would have left a black mark quite as decisive as that.
Les Lindley leads them up the hill through the S's. Sid Rust is in the second position. There is Lindley, Rust in the Plymouth, and the Chevrolets of Dunbar and Shadel. Into the back straightaway, front three. A little bit of margin on that fourth place car, which is doing quite a bit of sliding. That is 36 Scott Shadel. As we have a look at the third place machine of Jerry Dunbar.
.165 miles an hour as they swoop down this hill, that bit of hill giving these big cars a bit of impetus. But then they've got to get on the binders pretty soon after that dip. Otherwise, they're never going to wire it up before they want to go under the Datsun Bridge.
Heading back for turn number 1, the front four unchanged. Lindley, the leader. The yellow, blue and red trim Chevrolet Camaro. An 11-year-old automobile out here racing for the national championship. Many of the cars in this field are of similar vintage. Sid Rust Camaro, a 10-year-old machine. In third spot, 12-year-old car belonging to Jerry Dunbar, also a Chevrolet. Rust bouncing across the Dragon's teeth. those little berms to the inside of each corner to try to preserve the Georgia clay off to the edge of the asphalt.
Well, of course, of all the cars here this weekend, these are the most acceptable to run over the edge of the road like that. They've got strong steel wheels and they've got thick, high sidewall tyres, so they can stand that sort of bouncing around better than most of the cars here. It's still not a particularly good idea, but there we see our leader slipping a bit. There's Rust following, just dropping the wheel over the edge. Changing up to fourth gear, just about there. Accelerating down that long back straightaway. Lindley putting the wheel right across the apex of that corner at the bottom of the dip there.
Well, Sid Rust is a definite contender. If he can get near the front, he will be right in the thick of it for the national driving title. Rust has been here several times, chasing that national championship, driving a Plymouth this past year and for the past 3 years. He has a second and a third in national competition, but Sid Rust in car number 3 has never won the national driving title in this division. He drove Camaros in 1973, 4, and 5, and then switched to the Plymouth.
Car number 61, Tony DiLorenzo of Springfield, Virginia. His attempt at winning the national championship is also well and truly over.
DiLorenzo looked to hand grenade the engine coming down that pit straight.
As a certain person would say, that car has erupted.
Number 3 car?
What?
I'll tell you in a second. I'll tell you what you ought to do. Rust is on. Thank you. He and his wife Nancy. That was it. Four laps completed in the GT-1 National Championship race. At the head of the field, pole sitter Les Lindley. Driving a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro, Lindley, out of Anaheim, California, is the Southern Pacific Division champion and brings 4 wins in national competition here to Road Atlanta. Riding in the second position is Sid Rust, driving a Plymouth Barracuda. He has been to the well many times, but he has never tasted the victory champagne here at Road Atlanta. Runner-up last year. I like that one.
I like that.
Okay.
Been to the well many times, never taken the water therein. Lindley swinging through turn 7. Teeth bare. Gripping the wheel. Skin on the knuckles. Old Sid Rust, we will observe as they go through this dip, is really putting his all into this. Lindley likes that bit of turf on the inside there, which he missed that time.
Play the sound. Down the hill and back to the start-finish line to complete lap number 5 in GT1 competition. Lindley, the pole sitter, is the leader, and Sid Rust in second spot. A look at the 4th place machine of Scott Shadel, number 36, a moment ago, that light blue automobile, as they head out of turn number 1 and up the hill to the S's. First and second spot, Chevrolet versus Plymouth, with 2 Camaros following in the 3rd and 4th position. The 5th place car is a Ford Mustang that belongs to Phil Bartlett of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as there is the leader rumbling across the Dragon's Teeth coming up through the S's. Sid Rust, here's your 2nd place car, car number 3. 3rd place, Jerry Dunbar, and 4th place, Scott Shadel. With the 5th place car, the Ford, nowhere to be seen.
Not even in sight, as it were.
Well, We hope you're enjoying this predictable sleeper.
There's a heavy-duty race going on for about 6th place. A whole bunch of things.
About
8th place. Incredibly boring. And Lee Lindley.
Let's go down and have a driver's meeting with the leaders of the next race and say that if any one of these things runs away from the entire field, they will not be seen on TV.
Oh, and there's our leader spinning around over those bumps.
And back across the track, here comes Sid Rust. Dives to the outside, and Rust in the 3rd place car of Jerry Dunbar make it through.
And so does Shadel. Rumbling through. And Lee Lindley seems to stall it.
The race for the lead goes up out of turn number 1 and going up to the S's as Lindley sits broadside across turn number 12.
He's trying to start that motor, but he's not having any of it.
And Rust has lost the lead. There's a Chevrolet back in front again, and it belongs to Jerry Dunbar of South Villian, Illinois. As Sid Rust can't seem to get to the front and stay there.
And Lindley sets off. Now we're going to see the pursuit of giants, as Lindley is going to try and carve his way through the field.
Troy Wilder being overlapped, the driver we spoke of earlier out of Houston, Texas, who has overcome severe physical handicaps to become a successful road racing driver and qualify for the runoffs here at Atlanta in car number 83. Just being overtaken by the new leader, Jerry Dunbar. In the yellow automobile, this is Dunbar. In front, car number 32. Sid Rust in the Plymouth Barracuda in 2nd. And on the left of your screen, this will be Scott Shadel, car number 36, who has assumed the 3rd position. And here was the pole sitter, Lee Lindley, who, trying to stretch out his lead, lost it coming down the hill and spun the car out. He is back in 6th position.
Silly boy. Dunbar braking under the bridge there, car weaving around under braking as he uses all the road coming down there. That's the spot where we just saw Lee Lindley, our previous winner, spin away the race. And Dunbar using all the road plus a little bit more. Sid Rust yet again having to be content with 2nd place, playing follow leader to a yellow Chevrolet product.
Scott Shadel, the 3rd place car, as they begin to head up the hill toward the S's. Dunbar in front. Rust in 2nd, Shadel in 3rd. As Lindley attempts to carve his way back up through the field.
There we see Jerry Dunbar sweeping through the S's. These are big cars to go to there. These cars probably weigh 200 pounds or thereabouts. And downhill through those S's, they're a bit of a handful. And you could see that car of his struggling to get away from him. Sid Rust in the Barracuda following closely.
Here is Lindley trying to make up ground. David, if you've got a 9-second lead, why press the car so hard in an 18-lap sprint race? Wouldn't you think that'd be enough to hold you?
Well, it is really. He obviously just got a bit offline. I think he tried to hold it in a bit. He tried to pinch it, it looked a bit to me. And the car got away from him. And then he did one of those awful fishtail jobs coming down the hill and just overcorrected, and finally it went round backwards on him.
Here is the leader, Jerry Dunbar, in car number 32, racing out of Illinois. Out of the Central Division, it is Chevrolet Camaro, and Sid Rust in the Plymouth Barracuda, who nearly won here last year, but has never tasted the national championship.
I think Rust, in fact, is slightly losing ground on Jerry Dunbar.
Dunbar fills your screen as he approaches and attacks turn number 1.
Sliding there quite a bit. That car of Dunbar's looks a little bit tail happy. He's got a little bit of oversteer. Or, as they say in NASCAR circles, it's a bit loose.
First 3 cars, Dunbar and Rust. Now on your screen, coming up the hill. And just moving into view is Scott Shadel, the light blue Chevrolet Camaro. He is the 3rd place runner, currently holding 4th, where he's been since the start of this race is car number 42, Phil Bartlett, in a Ford Mustang.
And 5th is Lee Lindley, our previous leader.
Tense moment there for Jerry Dunbar as he works lap traffic coming up underneath the Dotson Bridge.
Not the best place in the world to catch up with lap traffic. And Sid Russ has got caught out by it again going through that last and important turn. There was nowhere really for him to go. And that's probably lost him another few tenths of a second.
That will allow the third place car, the light blue Chevrolet Camaro of Scott Shadel, number 36, to close ground on Sid Rust. First, second place, a lapped car, and then third.
Oh, Dunbar missing the apex there, rather, which will slow him down to the rest of the S's because he'd have to lift out of it a little bit. Rust relatively hot on his heels. And Scott Shadel in the blue Camaro.
And into the pits comes car number 55.
That's Roy Sprouse from DeSoto, Texas, in another Camaro. He at the moment currently holds second position in his regional championship. He's second in the Southwest Division. There we see Jerry Dunbar leading quite handsomely from Sid Rust.
The pole sitter, Les Lindley, currently running in the 6th position, made up 5 seconds that last lap on the 5th place car. So he is coming back through the field.
Now that was a bit of luck for Jerry Dunbar there. He got past that lap traffic before they got to turn 1, leaving Sid Rust out in the cold, rather. And he's going to have to follow him through this complex here of 2 and 3 and maybe even 4. Whereas Jerry Dunbar is going to have a clear bit of road. There's Rust having to go around the outside, the long, slow way around. And you can see that Dunbar immediately made a couple of seconds on him right there. Rust is not having the luck of the traffic here, that's for sure. Which is a very important ingredient in racing. If you don't have luck in lap traffic on road racing, it can just be your undoing.
There is a race back there beginning to shape up for 4th spot, 42 and 15. And 76, Judy tells us, will be part of that limited lap.
And there's a hat on the track. It's broken free from the crowded stands here at Road Atlanta. It's been run over.
Of course, it was empty at the time.
It's now a flat hat. There was no head in it.
There was no cat in the hat.
It was a blue hat. It's now a black and blue flat hat.
Meanwhile,
back on the track, car number 28, Vince Scavo, Eastern Texas. Being lapped by Scott Shadel in his Camaro.
all right, that is 3rd and nobody. Can we go back to car number 42 and 15, which is 4th and 5th?
And blue hat. Jerry Dunbar continues to lead this race for the National Championship. There you see him working away at that car through turn 5. There's a beautiful shot to the windscreen there that we don't get enough of, actually. You can see these guys really work on those cars if you zoom in like that on the screen as they come through 5. There are only 184 laps to go.
Not now. That's a lap car. Here's a battle for 4th position. Car number 42 is Phil Bartlett, and closing in is Rick Reynolds, and here comes the pole sitter. Car number 76, Les Lindley, about to make a race of it for the 4th position. Though the front 3 are well out ahead, that race will bear watching with 6 laps to go.
And that is, it's at our 3rd place car of Scott Shadel pulling off the road.
3rd place car rolls off course. That is Scott Shadel in car number 36, 4th place. just overtakes him there. At the left of your screen is car number 42, the fourth place machine, the Mustang of Phil Bartelt. And out of the race is car number 15, which was the fifth place machine, and that belongs to Rick Reynolds.
That's a shame, because Rick Reynolds comes from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he just works in a factory, so it just shows that there's all types of people take part in this racing, from film stars to factory workers, but everybody here is equalized.
The yellow car on your screen is Jerry Dunbar. He leads this GT-1 category. Dunbar, car number 32, racing out of South Beloit, Illinois, in the Super America Camaro. Sid Rust, bottom of your screen in the Plymouth Barracuda, is the second place car. And back in third was Scott Shadel. That would move up to third place. Car number 42, just coming into view, is the Ford Mustang of Phil Bartelt. He will now be third and fourth. The pole sitter, car number 76, Les Lindley, who spun out at turn number 12 earlier, but has come back up through the field. There is the Ford Mustang of Bartelt running in the third position. And back up front, here is your leader, Jerry Dunbar, in car number 32, overlapping a slower machine as Sid Rust closes in. Coming down the hill to complete the 13th of 18 laps in this national championship race. Leader coming to turn number 1 is Dunbar. A lapped car, and then Sid Rust.
Sid Rust, you see, has got caught in exactly the same position again on this very important area going into turn 1. He's got to follow him all through turn 1, through turn 2, around that tight right-hander there at 3, and then you've got this long left-hander where they accelerate hard.
Can you wait for third place?
And even if the guy makes room for you, you're still in bad shape. So he's held him up again.
Coming up the hill, bottom of your screen is Jerry Dunbar, the leader, and Sid Rust attempting to dispense with a lap car and having trouble doing it. They have a big margin on the third place car. That will be Lindley, the pole sitter, who has moved up to the third spot, still awaiting him to enter the S's as he battles with car number 42, Phil Bartelt of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the Ford Mustang. And here comes Lindley, and he is all alone. Lindley in the third position, moving up after spinning out and losing the lead at turn number 12, just now coming up the hill. And he is really flogging that Camaro.
Well, he's certainly driving the wheels off that thing now, but he's no chance at all, I would think, of catching Rust, or particularly Dunbar, unless, of course, they have mechanical problems. They've only got like 3 laps to go, 4 laps to go, and Lindley has really got no chance. He's done extremely well. He spun it, he stalled the car, he dropped to 7th, and he's pulled right back here to 3rd. There we see our leader, 32, Jerry Dunbar. Coming out of the main straight.
There is the fourth place automobile
Of Bartelt.
You're going to want 76 also with the prelim. That was fun.
Yeah, good deal.
Three laps to go when they get back to the line. Coming down the hill to turn number 12, car number 32, Jerry Dunbar of Illinois, the Central Division runner-up in 1980 SCCA competition. He lost that championship to Scott Shadel, but it looks like he'll pick up the national title as Shadel went off the course and stopped while running in the third position. Dunbar, followed by Sid Rust in a Plymouth Barracuda. have almost 35 seconds on the third place car, which is a comeback story in itself. The pole sitter, Les Lindley of Anaheim, California, led the race handily and then spun out at turn number 12.
Here we see William Farrell from Cincinnati in another Camaro, currently lying in 8th spot.
Just a minute. Jerry Dunbar started third on the grid. And when the pole sitter, Les Lindley, spun out after leading 5 laps, Sid Rust went to the front of the field in a Plymouth, but not for long, as Dunbar put the Chevrolet forces back in command of this GT1 finale once again. Here's Dunbar coming down for turn number 1 with 2 laps to go as one machine rolls off the course, and that is Bill McFarlane of Fallston, Maryland, in a Chevy Camaro, number 41.
Whose race is
I think it was run on about the third lap. That's when he got the most out of it.
There we see that gorgeous backdrop to turn 3, which our director has so thoughtfully set up. So if the race gets boring, we can watch the leaves change color
instead of the lead change hands. Oh,
there's old Bill McFarlane walking away from the car, a disappointed man. Come all the way from MD.
I guess we're going to call the last lap. Last lap on that.
I am calling it for real.
Oh, the last reel. Corner workers going to the aid of one of the drivers who go off course. He's headed for the woods. That was the driver of car number 41, Bill McFarlane.
We didn't really need a lot of help having got out of the car.
But the corner workers needing something to occupy the time to warm them up. Okay. Jerry Dunbar flying low down the back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. Underneath the Dotson Bridge, and as he comes to the start-finish line, it will be 1 lap to go in this GT1 finale to decide the national championship. And there you see a bit of that red Georgia clay that's been kicked up by some of the more over-exuberant drivers in this competition as Dunbar rolls through turn 1 and begins to go up the hill.
Into turn 2.
Coming to the S's, Dunbar, who started in the 3rd position, ran there while Les Lindley ran away from the field. But Lindley, who led the first 5 laps, spun out coming down the hill to turn number 12. Sid Rust in the Barracuda took over the lead but held it for less than a lap when Jerry Dunbar put the Chevrolet forces in front to stay.
Since then, Sid Rust has declined somewhat, and Dunbar has a very handsome lead over them. Lindley, after his spin, stalled the engine, had some trouble starting it, dropped back to like 8th or 9th place, but has since made a pretty rapid recovery through the field and is now running in a strong 3rd, although nowhere near Sid Rust, who's lying in 2nd place.
3 different makes of Detroit iron in the top 4 spots. The Chevrolet Camaros hold down 1st and 3rd. A Plymouth Barracuda is 2nd, and the Ford Mustang, number 42, Phil Bartelt, lies in the 4th position. There the separation from 1st to 2nd spot, Dunbar and Rust. No, Dunbar
Not
left car, sorry.
That is a lapped car. I think that's William Farrell from Cincinnati.
Down to turn number 12 comes Jerry Bartelt, checkered flag waving, and Bartelt is the new national driving champion in GT1 category.
Dunbar is the new national champion.
Oh my God, you're right. Well, I finally did it.
Oh, you blew that.
Yeah, I really did.
I mean, that is unbelievable. That's like that.
That's okay. You want to believe how much he paid me to say that about it? $2.27. How did I do that? And I'm looking at Dunbar now.
And
Hey, that was a nice shot of the checkered flag, by the way. Much better than this one.
flag is out.
Dunbar. Oh, shit. I said Bartle.
Bartle.
I gave it to the Ford guy. Never owned a Ford in my life.
And there goes Bartle. Has Lindley come by?
I guess that's another rude voice track. Sorry. I'm, yes, thank you. I'll tell you later.
You want these to put with the files?
Yes, I want these to take down.
Yeah, I'll take those. Where's the GT-1?
Remember the problem you had during the close?
Hmm?
Yesterday's live close, when you were looking in one direction and trying to do the live close, it came up with a marvelous British word to describe what was going on. Turn around.
Titillate. Oh, yeah.
Turn around.
Okay.
Ready.
Well, she just came in and said hello to me.
I know.
Who is she? Formula Ford, huh?
Stand by, please. And coming from beneath the Dotson Bridge and heading down the hill to turn number 12 and toward the checkered flag, Jerry Dunbar will win the national driving title in the GT-1 category. Racing out of Illinois, the Central Division runner-up is the new national driving champion in his Chevrolet Camaro. Dunbar defeats Sid Rust for the GT-1 championship. Is that okay? Okay, sorry about that. Okay. No, not really. For your information, the Formula Continental winner and Mike Rand and the guy that was the flagman have all been called to the studio meeting to discuss that little tip.
Last time I talked to you at the Elkhart Lake at the IMSA race, and you were worried about Lee Petty, the announcing job at Daytona. Yes, it is. Been down here 10 years. You've been coming here 10 years? 10th year. We won our division the last 4 of the last 5 years.
Well, there's Jerry Dunbar, your new GT-1 national champion. He's been coming to Atlanta for 10 years. Jerry, what about that race?
Well, you know, when you win them, or when you're leading, the race is always too long. And when you're running in second or third, it's always too short. So this is one of my longer races.
On the other hand, you were running in third place at some time. Did you think you could pull it off at that stage?
I thought second might be a possibility, but first was a little remote.
Were you pretty pleased to see Mr. Lindley sideways in the road?
Well, as long as he didn't hit anything or get hurt, that was all right.
Well, there we are. New national champion.